You know, everything goes back to our thoughts. Everything. Everything. It really can be easy. It starts with having thoughts that line up with truth that feels good.
Well, hello and welcome to Wendy Dillard's live Law of Attraction coaching show. I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Wendy Dillard. And just to let you know the kind of the format of the show and what's the purpose, I love to talk about law of attraction. When I learned about law of attraction many years ago, I just had this internal sense that somehow understanding law of attraction would answer almost any question that I have. And I would say thus far, it has done a pretty good job of that. And so I've also come to recognize that in the world that we live in today, there's a lot of information, some of it true, some of it not true. And I like to bring truth to what law of attraction is all about and kind of dispel any myths or misconceptions that people may have about it. So the format for this show is I usually start with a topic. I talk for about 10 or 15 minutes on it. And then depending on how many people I have in the audience, I take all of your questions. You can write them in the chat and I'll do my absolute best to answer them. And if I need more detail, I'll ask for that. You can also ask me questions specifically about the topic that I'm talking about. Or you can come up with your own question based on what's going on in your life, maybe what's not manifesting in the way that you'd like it to. And I will help you with what it would take for you to get into alignment so that you can manifest what you desire. Now, let me explain for those that don't understand what it means when I say get into alignment. So, source energy, which is known by many different names, some call it God, some call it higher self, higher power, inner being, soul, spirit. It goes by so many names. And I kind of use them interchangeably. My favorite name is spirit, and sometimes I use source energy. So basically, source energy knows everything past, present, and future. It's like its ultimate infinite intelligence, and it knows everything. And so when you get information from source energy, you're knowing what the absolute knowing is on that subject. Well, what's interesting is if you have a negative feeling, it means that the thought that you're thinking that's associated to that negative feeling is out of alignment with source energy, meaning source energy is thinking one way about this subject. But if you feel negative about it, it means that you're thinking in a way that source energy doesn't. And so that's always an indicator that what you're thinking about or believing is not true. Because anything that you think about or believe always feels good to you when you think on it. And so every positive feeling is in alignment with source energy. Now, sometimes we get in trouble with this a little bit or get a little bit in confusion because we're not always keenly aware of what is true for us and what we really feel. Sometimes we think we're feeling a certain way, like positive about something, but the way you know whether that's the truth or not is based on what you're manifesting. So in other words, if you're wanting to manifest a new job, and every time you think about getting a new job, it feels really good to you, really exciting. You know what you want, you know what you're looking for, you're answering ads, but yet you're not landing a job. That may be a big indicator that you have some negative energy that's a part of your vibrational mix that is actually more prominent than you're aware of. And that's the reason that what you're experiencing is not what you want, because law of attraction is responding to the energy that's in contradiction to what you desire. And you see, law of attraction does not know the language of words. It doesn't speak words, it doesn't hear words, it only knows the language of vibration. And another way to say vibration is to say what you're emotionally feeling. And so sometimes it takes some practice to accurately identify your feelings. But if you ever want to know, are you on the right track? Just notice what's happening in your life. And if you're not getting what you want, then you know that there's something that's problematic. Okay, so that's just kind of a little bit of background. But tonight I want to talk about a subject that came up in one of my coaching sessions with one of my clients, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I won't say it's an argument that he and I are having. It's almost a little bit of a debate in that I keep saying the same thing over and over, but it is so contrary to how he thinks and how even society thinks that it's hard for him to swallow it. It's like, on one level, I think he knows that what I'm telling him is accurate, but his habitual experience keeps having him go back to a default thinking. So he loves to be what he considers a speaker of truth. And so if he's having a negative experience with something, I may bring to his attention how he's talking about it is not very positive. And it's not that I care about the words, but I'm really feeling that what he's actually emanating into the universe is something of a negative nature. And his response to me will be, but it's true. But it's true. Like there's so much evidence of whatever it is that he's talking about. And today I said this in a way that I've never said it before, but I said, evidence is not the marker of truth. It's only an indicator of your vibration. Now, I've explained this to him before, but I'm going to explain it to you because this may be the first time you've ever heard this. But if you are, let's see, can I come up with a good subject? Okay, well, I'm going to use his. So oftentimes he'll reach out to somebody and they'll get excited with him and they'll say, okay, well, I'm going to send you these resources, at a later time. He'll tell me that they didn't follow through. They didn't send it to me. Or he submitted an article for a magazine, an online magazine, and they said, oh, we need you to make some changes. So he did. And like 3 times he made changes. And then he didn't hear anything back. And he said, so they didn't publish my article because they didn't follow through. They never got back to me. And I said, you've kind of had a history of people not following up with you. And he's like, well, that's not my fault. And I said, well, I don't like to look at things in terms of fault, but it is your vibration. So if someone's not getting back to you, they're not following up with you, it's not that you've done something wrong, but you have a vibration that has thoughts that some people would call limiting belief, and so would I, that are a match to people not following through. Now, that's not always an easy thing to understand, but what he'll say is, but it's not my fault because over and over and over, so-and-so's not following up with me. They're not following through. And he'll say, that's my truth, that people don't follow through. And he has a whole laundry list of experiences where somebody has not followed through with him. And again, I'll say, it's your vibration, not whether it's true or not, because we all have a different truth. And what's true for one person is not true for another. And the reason for that is because our truth always has to do with what thoughts we're thinking. So we have a thought. Always with a thought, there's an associated emotional feeling. And that emotional feeling equals a vibration. And so if we have a thought, we automatically have a feeling, which means we automatically have a vibration. And that is being emanated or broadcast into the law of attraction, into the universe. And law of attraction that doesn't speak the language of words is going, oh, okay, so you had a scenario. Now, of course, I'm putting human language to this, but this is kind of how it goes down. You have a scenario where somebody is not following up with you. They're not giving you the follow through that you're looking for. And you feel angry about that or frustrated or disappointed. And because you have this thought, see, people just can't be trusted because they don't follow through. Well, law of attraction didn't hear the words, but law of attraction picked up on the disappointment and the frustration and the anger that you're not getting what you're looking for. And so on that topic, law of attraction is like, oh, okay, so this person really likes to feel angry, frustrated, and upset when it comes to follow through. So no problem. We'll give this person another experience where somebody doesn't follow through. And then the person, let's call them Bill, says, see, it's true because once again, somebody's not following through with me. And I want to say, as a law of attraction coach, it's not that they're doing this thing to you, but because you have a belief that people don't follow through on their word, law of attraction is making certain that you get more experiences where people don't follow through on their word. And so even though my client Bill will say over and over, but it's true, but it's true, but it's true, I'll say the only reason it's true for you is because you are vibrating to the thought that people don't follow up on their word and they don't have follow through. And so because that's your thought and you have negative feelings about that, law of attraction just keeps bringing that to you over and over and over again. And it's not that the absolute truth is that people don't follow through. It's because Bill believes people don't follow through. Well, likewise, on another scenario or another person, let's say Sally may have one life experience after another that when someone makes a promise to her, they always follow up on their promise. And so she's come to believe that if someone says they're going to do something, then they do it. And so her life experience has taught her that if someone speaks something and they promise it to her, or they say, oh yeah, I'll follow up with an email in a day or two, she can expect that in a day or two, she's going to receive an email from them. And she does. And so she could say her truth is that people are awesome when it comes to follow through, that people make a promise and they keep it. And why is that? Why does she have that experience and Bill has the other? Well, because she believes it. Her thought is that people follow up on their promise. They make good on their promise. And so therefore, she feels good about people making good on their promise. And law of attraction totally responds to that and says, oh, Sally loves it when people follow up on their word. And so she gets experience after experience after experience where people follow up on their word. And so her experience is so very different from Bill's, but it doesn't make either of them right or wrong in terms of their beliefs. It's just that's their belief to them specifically. And so whatever you think about something, positive or negative, law of attraction is going to respond to you and bring you corresponding experiences of either a positive or negative nature based on how you feel about it. And so there are very few absolute truths in this world. But if you keep having something happen that you don't like, I guarantee you it's because you have some resistance, some negative beliefs, and therefore law of attraction continues to bring to you something that equals what your beliefs are all about, which Abraham Hicks calls that your point of attraction. Your point of attraction is whatever it is that you believe. So anyway, I think I've explained that in a way that feels good to me. I hope that made sense to you. One of the things I love about this platform that I'm on called StreamYard is that it's broadcast simultaneously on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And the moment I end the recording, it's automatically an archive version where you can listen to a replay immediately following the show. And so, like, let's say you missed the beginning of what I was saying and you want to catch it, just wait till the end of the show and you can go back and you can listen to the replay. So anyway, just for a little bit of business, I am a coach. And if you've heard something that you like and you feel like you want to explore further with me in a private consultation, I'm absolutely open to doing that. And to schedule a private conversation with me, you just go to my website, which is wendydillard.com, and you click on the button that reads Book a Free Exploratory Conversation, which can be found near the bottom of any page on my website because it's a part of my footer. So that's the business part. If you want to work with me, I'll be happy to talk with you. If you just want to have a conversation because you want to get a little bit of clarity on something, I'm happy to have a discussion with you. If you're interested in having a coaching relationship with me, obviously I'd be interested in doing that too. So now we come to the part where if you have any questions that you have for me, please feel free to put them in the chat and be as specific as possible. And I'll do my very best to address your question. And I'll also put your questions up on the screen. Okay, so my friend Elena, she says, very well explained, Wendy. So I'm assuming that she was here from the beginning and heard what I'm saying. Elena is also a law of attraction coach, so she knows her stuff. Does anybody else have a question? I had quite a number of people say that they were interested in attending tonight. So I hope that you're here and you're listening. I can't always tell how many people are watching me. I can really only tell who's here by who comments. So if you haven't commented, I don't know about you yet. I wish I was really good on the fly with coming up with questions, like questions that clients have asked or things like that. Okay, I have a friend, his name is Poya, and he says, hi. Well, hi there, Poya. Do you have a question for me? I'd love to answer it. Okay, let's see. What does Elena say? She says, perfect examples of two people with different vibrations getting different outcomes due to their different beliefs and therefore different vibrations. Well, thank you, Elena, for that compliment. I think it's really interesting how people think differently all the time, and yet so many people have a belief that like we all believe the same thing, which is so not true at all. I went to an out-of-town wedding this last weekend, and my sister and I were traveling together and stayed in the motel together. And there was something I was sharing with her in the car, and she didn't say a word, like she didn't respond. And so I kind of looked at her and I said, so what I don't know is what I'm saying something you believe? Do you think I'm crazy? What are your thoughts on the subject? And she just kind of shrugged. And I went, okay, so what I'm sharing, which it was a metaphysical thought, is not your cup of tea. It's not something you really believe in. And she's like, no, but it's you. And what's interesting is if I didn't ask her specifically if she believed me or if she agreed with me, I wouldn't know because her silence wasn't telling me anything, which is why I thought to ask her. And, people have lots of different ideas. And let's see. Now, this is kind of on a totally different subject, but I was at a network meeting today, and one of the ladies in the group was sharing something, and she was excited because she said, I got my first speaking engagement, and I'm really excited about it. She said, and I'm getting paid. Now, I'm not getting paid like the full value. And she started to go down the trail of like why it was less than what she wants to be paid as a speaker. And, I put my hand up to ask her a question, and she gave me permission to kind of give her a coaching thought. And I said, is there a specific reason why you are minimizing this great win that just happened to you by explaining that you're not getting the full payment that you are hoping to receive? And she stopped and she thought about it. And she said, that was a really good catch. And I said, because the truth is, no one here in this room really needed to know whether you're getting full paid or not. The fact that this was a time that we're sharing our wins, and you shared that you got a speaking engagement, we can all get on board and be excited for you and cheerlead that. And the truth is, the fact that you aren't getting the full payment that you wanted to receive is kind of not only none of our business, but most importantly, it's an aspect that when you talked about, I could feel your energy kind of shrinking down a little bit. And I said, so in that moment, you're telling law of attraction that you don't like how it feels when you don't get your full payment. But what you're really saying is, give me more of not getting a full payment. And this is how I like to feel. Because whatever you feel is what law of attraction is going to bring to you. So she was really grateful for, me catching that. And that's kind of something I do with anybody I'm chatting with. I'll say, is it really important that you say this? Now, I know it's part of our society that we minimize almost everything, but we don't have to. As a matter of fact, I was at an Abraham Hicks workshop. This was quite a while ago. And this young man was in the hot seat, and he was talking about this car that really makes him happy. And he was talking about its color and the softness of the leather seats and how cool it looked. And he just went on for like a good 5, 6, 7 minutes. I mean, he was really into describing this awesome car. And Abraham made a point. They said, they were looking out at the audience, and they said, can you tell if he owns this car and it's in his garage right now? Or is this something he's desiring? And the truth was, I couldn't tell. He was so congruent with how much he loved this car and how much it made him happy. And Abraham didn't push him to say whether he had it or whether he didn't. Now, I suspect he didn't have the car, but he was so good at focusing on what he desired, and he allowed everything in his expression to talk about what he desired in such a real way that law of attraction would have no qualms about providing him exactly what he asked for, because that's what he was vibrating to. Now, I'm going to give you another example. And regardless of your politics, I'm going to talk about Donald Trump. He, to me, ever since he came on the political scene, has been like a study for me. And I watched him when he was doing The Apprentice, and I was fascinated by him. And it doesn't matter if I like him or don't like him. The fact was, I was watching him because I wanted to understand him. And I knew that there was something in how he delivers what he delivers by way of how and what he expresses, that there was something for people to learn and understand. So I watched him in this debate that he had with Biden recently. And the fact checkers afterwards were expressing how he had like 30 some lies or untruths that he spoke. And I thought about that and I thought, isn't that amazing? Because I watched him, and even though I could tell what was not true, like because I was feeling what was not true, his delivery of what is not true, he is so congruent. In other words, he believes it. He has no reservations. He has no contradiction in his energy. And regardless if you agree with his politics or not, it doesn't matter. But he is such a beautiful example of expressing what's important to him in a way that is so congruent. Law of attraction has no alternative but to deliver it to him. Now, how in a presidential scenario do you determine who wins or who doesn't win? I will say this: what the presidential candidate believes and how they deliver their statements and how they deliver their rhetoric, their belief in what they say is really important. And then the belief of what people who vote think about that is important. So I do remember being at an Abraham workshop right after the election where Trump won. And there was a gentleman who stood up. He was so somber, so upset that Trump won because he was so totally against Trump. And Abraham said, your disdain for Trump was actually a vote for Trump because you had so much focus on him. Law of attraction felt what you were emanating, and you were actually placing a vote for Trump, whether you knew it or not. So whenever you're against something, you're actually placing a vote vibrationally for that thing you do not want. So it's really interesting. I just thought I'd bring that up in light of the fact I didn't have questions yet. But I do have a question now, and so I'm going to address it. Okay, so this is from Heather, and she says, how about bringing the right relationship into your life? Okay, well, she's not telling me a whole lot, so I'm going to kind of take a stab at it. And Heather, if you want to add some more to it, please feel free to do so. But if you want to bring the right relationship into your life, you want to be abundantly clear about what you want and have no doubt, concern, or contradiction to that thing that you want. So, for example, if I'm wanting a new relationship, and I am, but I think about everything that went wrong in my first and only marriage, and I keep focusing on he wasn't this, he wasn't that, I didn't like this, and he did this thing that really bothered me. Well, law of attraction is going to pick up on that and bring me a carbon copy of my ex-husband. But what I do, and I'm very mindful of this, is I focus on what's important to me. I focus on what I desire in the relationship. And I will tell you, I did a lot of cleanup work while I was at the end of my marriage so that I wouldn't take with me negative aspects within myself into another relationship, because wherever you are in your vibration, wherever you left it is what goes with you. And so when my marriage ended, I was in a really good, loving place with my husband. And that might sound really corny, but I wanted an amicable divorce. And the truth is, even to this day, I still love him. We just weren't compatible in terms of marriage partners. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Heather because she has some qualifying things. She said, or if you liked someone, but they were negative, thought they might have liked me too, but then they backed off. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what you want me to do with that, Heather. Let's see. They were negative. Can you tell me a little bit in terms of like how they were negative? Because the truth is, you always are a match for whatever is in your life. So if they were negative, there was some aspect in you that activated that. Um, you thought they might have liked you too, and then they backed off. Well, there's all sorts of reasons why they may have backed off. Um, you might have been too much of a woman for him. You might have been a powerful, wonderful, awesome woman, and that didn't match his energy. And so something about it didn't feel quite right. Okay, she's got a little bit more clarification here. Person seemed discouraged in life. He was my past tenant, but unable to get it together. He then moved, and I miss him now. Oh, Heather, I'm sorry that you had that experience. And I'm also not sorry you had that experience, because whatever you experienced, if there was any aspect of it, which there was, that brought you negative pain, it's an opportunity for you to look at what about your thinking is not in alignment with how source sees that situation. So if he seemed discouraged in life, that was about him, not about you. It wasn't your job to fix him, and you're not saying that you even tried. Um, he was unable to get his act together. Well, I wonder, is it important to you that someone has their act together? Because if it is, and he didn't have his act together, then that's the reason you weren't a match. And that's the reason that it came to an end. For whatever surface reason was there, underneath it all, you weren't a match. And that's the bottom line. We are always a match to whoever is in our life based on whatever's going on. And like, I have another client that is looking for, we'll just say Miss Right. And he's felt like, how come he's not, like he'll be dating this one and something will cause the relationship to end. And he's like, I don't know if I should go back and like try to get it going again, or if I should do this, or this. And I have one statement all the time, which is, if it's supposed to be, it will. You can't miss the right person. It doesn't matter what you say to them. If you say all sorts of things that you think are really stupid and you judge it, it's like, if it's the right person for you, that's not going to discourage them. And likewise, you could do everything right, and they might still not be attracted. And that's not about you. You just weren't a match. I mean, have you ever been with somebody where you meet them and you just have like immediate chemistry and you can't get enough of them? And it kind of doesn't even matter what you talk about. You just want to be in their presence. Well, that's a very different scenario than going out with somebody after a date, you go home and you go, well, did I really like that person? Is there really something there? If you have to ask all those questions, you don't have chemistry. You don't have to like your way into a relationship. You don't have to try to make a relationship happen. There's either chemistry or there's not, and you can't make that up. And like, even though this isn't about a romantic scenario, I met somebody at a networking environment. It was a female, and she's a coach of a different kind. And we said, hey, let's trade services. And so we did. And we started with me receiving from her, and she did Reiki. And so afterwards, it was really cool. I love talking about it. But we had already planned in advance to go out to dinner after the Reiki session. And I got to tell you, even though I had just met her, we had so much to talk about. We had so many things in common. And after I went home, I couldn't stop thinking about her because the chemistry between us was so juicy. It was so rare. Now, this is going to sound a little weird, but I take that relationship and I go, this is what I want in a romantic partner. And so when I think about a romantic partner, I think about how she and I just couldn't stop talking, and how we could have gone on for hours, and how our chemistry was so magnetic. And so that's what I focus on. And Heather, going back to the beginning of your question, having to do with a relationship, it's like, it doesn't matter where you pull these ideas from, but I like to focus on, I love that kind of chemistry where, I've had some dates, where we closed down the restaurant because we just couldn't stop talking because we had so much in common. Those are juicy relationships and they feel really good. And that's what I want more of. And if that's what you want, then I suggest that you focus on something like that. So, okay, I'm going to come back. Heather is saying, right, no goals. Well, I have a feeling what you're saying to me is that he wasn't the right person for you. And that's what you're saying right to, because he didn't have goals and you do. And so you're interested in somebody who has goals because obviously that's important to you. And whatever is important to you is what you want to focus on. So, okay, anybody else with new questions or anything else you want to talk about? Let's see. Heather says, thank you. Had total chemistry, though we'll see what happens. I will say this about chemistry. First of all, you can't make up chemistry. You either have it or you don't. But what I think is interesting about chemistry, and I learned this as I was studying human design. That's the name of the system, which is like a combination of astrology, chakra system, I can't even, Kabbalah, and there's two other things. Anyway, it's this system where based on your birthday and where you were born, etc., it kind of sets you up as you have a certain kind of profile. And I mean, it is very in depth, and I don't know the ins and outs of all of it. But what I think is interesting, and one of my best friends studied it more than me, so she was able to help me understand. She said, you have all these different aspects of your personality, and this is not the right terminology, but I want to explain it this way. It's like you have on and off switches all over your energetic being. And if you come in contact with another person that, let's say, you have an on switch and they have an on switch in the same place, that's really cool for your chemistry. But if someone has an on and the other one has an off, when you're together, it's like you complete the circuitry. And so my best friend who was explaining this to me, she was showing me in her chart and my chart why and how it is that she and I are good friends, and why, well, we're best friends, but why we connect on such a deep level. She said, look at all these circuits that we complete for one another. She said, this is why we have this level of chemistry. And I'm like, wow. And so then she pulled up my ex-husband's chart and she showed me how we didn't have all these circuitries that completed each other. And I'm like, that is so fascinating. So there are so many different aspects that cause people to connect or not connect. And so you can connect on a level because like your circuitries connect, but that doesn't mean that the other person is in the same space in their personal journey as you are. And so they may have different vibrational preferences than you do. So chemistry is important in a relationship, but it's not everything. It's not everything. So Heather, I hope that kind of helps you with what you were wanting to understand tonight. If you have more questions about it, please feel free to ask. But if not, I feel like I'm complete for tonight. I feel like I've shared the topic about evidence that I think is really important, that Evidence of something is not necessarily true. It just means that you've been thinking certain thoughts for so long, and law of attraction is bringing you things to give you evidence and to prove out your beliefs, but it doesn't mean that it's an absolute truth. And Heather is saying, yes, thanks, perfect. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate the acknowledgement. Because, I work very intuitively. And it doesn't mean that I'm always right, in that I may receive some information from spirit, but it doesn't mean I always interpret it in a way that really reads for you or really resonates. And sometimes in a chat scenario like this, it's not as easy for me to read the energy. My particular modality, like when I do coaching, I always do coaching by phone. There's something for me that when I tune in to how somebody's talking, I can pick up on their energy, and I can tell when they're lying to themselves. And they don't know they're lying to themselves, but I can tell where they're incongruent, where they're saying one thing and I'm picking up on something else, and then I can bring it to their attention. And that's kind of the value of the coaching that I provide, is I help them with what's really going on vibrationally for them. Okay, so anyway, I am thinking of trying to come up with another platform where I can see people and hear their voices. I think that might be useful. And that's kind of something I'm toying with, and we'll see what comes up. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here tonight and for being here in the future. Because remember, I told you that all of these are in playback form. And so people can watch these after the fact. And if, they didn't come live to the show, I'm certainly not concerned. I'm doing it. I do this show because I'm committed to doing this show. I have some personal reasons for doing it. I will share with you. One of them is I'm over being camera shy. I used to freak out at seeing myself on camera, and I'm talking directly into my camera. And right now I'm looking at me as to what's being shown. And I like what I see, where before I'm like, oh my God, I don't want anybody to see me. I don't look good on camera. I'm over it. And so committing to doing these shows on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, has really been good for me. I also used to think that I couldn't talk into a camera without having someone specific to talk to. Well, I think tonight's my 25th show. Well, I'm over that. I used to think I wouldn't be able to come up with topics. And what I found out is that Spirit always gives me a topic. And even today, 2 hours before the show, I had no idea what my opening topic was going to be. And I just had this intuitive sense that, because I had a client session 2 hours before, and I had this sense I'm going to get my topic during that session. And sure enough, it showed up. And I even said that to my client. I said, oh, thank you. This is what I'm going to talk about tonight. So it's like, I'm not concerned I won't have a topic. Spirit will never have me go on without having a topic. Something will always come to mind. And I don't even know all the other reasons for doing this show, but I felt like Spirit gave me the idea to do it. And then it took me maybe 6 or 8 weeks to kind of roll it around in my head. And then I'm like, I'm committed to doing it. I'm going to do it every week. And I do this at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Heather, I believe you're on Pacific time. So that would be at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And I'm committed to being here every week. So if you like what you see here, feel free to come back. Even if you don't have a question, just listening to other people's questions can definitely provide value for you. And if you know anybody who's struggling or feeling stuck in their lives and they'd like to break through, please send them here. There's no registration to get in. And well, if you found me through Meetup, there is registration. But if you come directly to my YouTube channel, there's no registration. You just show up at my YouTube And I don't always remember the URL, but if you type in Wendy Dillard, Law of Attraction, I'll come up. And then and then click on my lives for my channel and you'll see me. But you don't even have to register. Just show up. There's nothing to it. Anyway, I'm going to say goodnight and thank you for being here, both today and in the future. I look forward to the next one, and I hope you do too. I wish the best for all of you, that your highest and best good will be served through this show and outside of the show. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Okay, I am right now vamping because I am looking for my going out music. All right, here it is.